guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome. My name is Meg, and today we're testing out Fenty Beauty Foundation by Rihanna. So I am doing a wear test today, which is perfect because it's still pretty hot here in the desert. Even though it's the end of September, you guys can see it's still pretty hot and miserable out here. I'm going to be out and about in the heat, so I think that this is a perfect day for a wear test. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into the review. Alright, so let's go over the product a little bit. You know, I'm sure we know all about it, but this is supposed to be a medium coverage foundation. It is supposed to work for sensitive skin, normal skin, dry skin, and combination skin. I personally have super dry skin, and I also have sensitive skin with a lot of redness to cover up. So I'm curious to see how this builds and how this wears throughout the day. I'm going to insert some swatches that I did for you guys. I swatched 100. That's the first one. The second one is 110. The third one is 120. And the last one is 130. So I felt like there was a very drastic change between 110 and 120. I feel like I would probably be a mix of the both, but when I was in Sephora, I got matched to 110, and I do feel like this is going to be way too light for me, but we shall see. And I also did get the samples. So when you do get samples from Sephora, like, they're more than happy to give them to you. They come in little packs like this. So I did get the primer to try out because I've heard mixed things about the primer with dry skin. So I was curious to try that out. I'm just going to apply the primer on my face with my fingers. This does feel lotiony like everyone else said. I did test it on the back of my hand in the store, and it just felt really nice and luxurious. So with this, I feel like I'm definitely going to be able to get at least 3 or 4 wears out of this primer. So again, like I said, it does feel really nice going on the skin. It feels like you're applying a moisturizer to your face, and I can feel it starting to dry down. And it does feel pretty velvety, but it still has some slight tackiness to it. So today I'm going to be applying my foundation with a sponge. I'm not going to wet it because I want to see how true of full coverage I can get. And I know you get a heavier coverage when the sponge isn't wet, so that is how I will be applying this today. Then the biggest controversy with this foundation is that it oxidizes. Fenty Beauty released a statement saying that their foundation does not oxidize, and that it just dries down a darker color. Yeah, this is, oh no. I'm gonna look like a ghost today. Oh, wearing this. This is no bueno. Okay, maybe it won't be so bad. I just need to go for it. So I'm gonna put some out on the back of my hand and then apply that to my face. I did hear that this dries quickly, so I'm gonna try to work as fast as I can with it. So I feel like I was able to apply that super quickly to my face, and I just want to say that the 110 is supposed to be for fair skin with cool undertones, and I definitely feel like I'm more of a neutral flush cool side. So as you guys can see, I do have my problem area. It's perfect timing for me because it's that time of the month. So true test to see how well this foundation is going to cover up those red spots. And then this is the finish on the skin. I can see this clinging to dry areas if you do have that, but it just looks like right here my skin is just looking a tad bit dry to me. I do feel like I can still see some redness, some slight redness peeking through my acne spots, but other than that, I feel like the foundation does look pretty flawless. I feel like it blended out nicely. While you have to work with it quickly, I feel like I was able to blend it out in a reasonable amount of time. I do think it did a good job covering up my redness that I have right here. Normally I have to go in with 2 layers. And what everyone says about this foundation, it actually sets. I don't know the last time, like, I see people talk about foundation setting all the time, but for me, normally they always feel tacky on my face. This actually does almost feel completely like a powder. Like, there's still some slight tackiness to it right now, but it is drying down really nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the second half of my face, and I will be right back. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can kind of see, like, if I do this, you can kind of see how the foundation is looking rather dry on my forehead, which is my typical problem area. I'm also not quite a fan of how it's sitting on my nose. But as you guys can see, this is what it looks like on my skin. And like I said, my skin is very much on the dry side. So I'm kind of hoping, I see after a few hours it, you know, has life brought into it and that it sits nicely throughout the day. But right now it's just rather dry looking. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a teensy bit more and just kind of see if I can build the foundation up on problem areas. So basically right here, I'm just going to see if I can get some more coverage. And then also right here in my little cheek area. So as you guys can kind of see, like how it's slightly highlighted from what's already on my face. So even this lighter shade does seem to darken down a little bit. So it does seem like it's buildable. I still feel like I can still see like some purple redness under my acne. I know I'm being like super picky about this right now, but I'm just curious to see how it will stay at bay throughout the day and if the redness will shine through or just stay pretty muted. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup and be right back. It is right now 10:14 in the morning. Alright you guys, so I have the rest of my makeup on my face and I do have a couple more thoughts before I do a check-in. So one thing that I didn't mention before is that there is a slight scent to this foundation. I like really had to stick my nose into the pot to smell it. It wasn't noticeable by any means when I was putting it on, so I don't think that that should be much of a concern for anyone. I'm not sure how I was shade matched to this. I always try to tell people in stores to match like my shoulder is a better match than my neck and my face because I don't let those areas get tan. But as you can see, the 110 is significantly lighter than what I have going on for my arms and the rest of my body. I do feel like this would be a really good shade match for the winter when I am like my palest form. And I also think that that's amazing because I always struggle to find foundations that are light enough for me, even when I am tan. So I think it's great that they have 40 shades and I hope they come out with more in the future. I used some powder product on the rest of my face. For my under eyes, I used my Tarte Shape Tape and I set that area with my RCMA powder because I would be crease city if I didn't. I didn't set anywhere else with powder because it honestly feels like there's powder like on my face right now. So that's really cool that the foundation truly actually does set itself. I feel like my bronzer and contour went on nicely, my blush went on nicely. However, with the highlight, I feel like it's really harsh looking and it's stuck to certain areas. I'll zoom you guys in just a second. But like right here, I can literally see like the harsh line from like where I was trying to blend my highlight out and I couldn't get it to blend out on top of the foundation. I think just because it's so dry. Okay, so I'm really hoping that the camera picks this up, but like right through here, I feel like you can just see how the foundation is kind of like broken up. And if I scrunch my face around, that kind of helps show it off a little bit too. It just kind of broke up a bit where I was putting the powder on with a brush. And then also right between my eyes. Right here, I just feel like it looks really, really dry. And by the way, I'm wearing the Jaclyn Hill palette on my eyes. And then also my nose, I feel like isn't looking the best. And then right here, if you guys can see this line, like right there is like where my highlight wouldn't blend. So now I'm going to do a transfer test. That's why I'm still wearing my PJ top. So this foundation is not supposed to transfer whatsoever. So let's see. I'm just gonna like rub my face into it, and it doesn't really look like anything came off. Like you can see some slight marks on my shirt, which is good that not a ton of it did transfer. I'm gonna take some clean fingers and just press, and it doesn't look like anything came off onto my fingers, which is great. And I don't see any finger marks on my face from where I press into my skin. So that is amazing that this does truly set itself. And I did set my face overall with my Urban Decay Makeup Setting Spray. I just really needed this to bring some sort of hydration back into my face. So it is 10:58 right now. and I've had the foundation on for about 45 minutes. So far, I still feel like it's super dry and it feels super dry, but we will see how that wears throughout the day. And before I go, I'm gonna do a flash test. So it is 2:34, so I've had the foundation on for about 4 hours now. I don't really see any changes. I still think it looks pretty dry in certain areas. Right up in here, and it's starting to like gunk up around my nose. I do feel like it's gotten darker throughout the day as I've been wearing it. Before I left my house to go to work, I asked my husband what he thought of it, and he said that it looked matte, and he said that he's not used to seeing my skin look matte, and then he also said that he could see every pore on my face and didn't think it looked the best. So at least I got an honest opinion from him, and I do agree, it does really accentuate all of your pores, but I will check back in later. So it is now 6:22 in the evening, so the foundation has had about a good 8 hours of wear. I feel like it feels fine. It doesn't feel super heavy or anything, and we reached just under the 100-degree mark today, so I've been out here sweating the last couple of hours, and the foundation is definitely more dewy looking since the day has gone on, and I feel like it doesn't look as terrible on my forehead, but right here around my nose, it's just like really breaking up. If it wants to focus. Right around there, so I'm not really happy with how it's wearing. And then this is from my sunglasses, so I feel like maybe if you have oily skin, this could work for you. For me, I'm just not really loving it right now. I will have to try it with a different primer, and as you guys can see, it's definitely a lot darker than my neck, so definitely oxidized throughout the day, and I will be back at the end of the night for a final check-in. All right, you guys, so it is 10:25. So I've pretty much had this foundation on for the last 12 hours, and I have some thoughts. So if you guys can kind of see, I'm definitely more shiny. Sorry I'm squinting, I was just driving around in the dark and now these lights are blinding me. But I'm definitely a lot more shiny and dewy looking than I was before, but in a bad way. I was just not a fan with how this sat on my skin. I still feel like I could see all my pores. It's just looking not nice. I don't know if it was the primer, so I think I'm gonna try this out again, but with the primer that I normally use and see how my skin reacts. But yeah, I'm just not that pleased with it, which is a disappointment because this foundation and product is obviously super hyped up. And then of course it got super gunky, like where my sunglasses were sitting on my face. So with my job, part of it requires for me to drive around and be outside a lot. So today was a perfect day to test this out because it was still pretty hot out here in the desert, and I was in and out, sweating a little bit. And I will say the foundation does feel like it held up, and it stayed in place, so I can give it that. It does have decent coverage, so I do feel like this is something you can just kind of throw on your face and not really have to worry about doing a lot of concealing. So those are definitely the pros. And then the cons, you've pretty much, if you made it this far into the video, you know what the cons are. So I'm gonna do one last final close-up for you guys. So as you guys can see right here, it just doesn't look like it just doesn't look nice on my skin whatsoever. Obviously you can fix some areas by just blotting, but this, you can't really fix this. I will say it did a good job of keeping my redness with my acne spots at bay, but as you can see, they're sort of starting to peek through. So I'm still happy with the amount of coverage that it provided. It's starting to wear off on my chin. My nose is kind of like where I'm the most horrified, and you guys can see why. It just totally broke up on my nose. But yeah, my nose is pretty much destroyed. It's done. There is really no saving it, and this is a huge tell-all for me, and the foundation just, it does not look good on my skin at all. And then the only thing, I feel like my forehead kind of improved throughout the day, but as again, you can kind of see like every little skin cell and pore that's on my face. But I will say, I feel like my eyeshadow lasted pretty well for 12 hours of wear. I just honestly can't believe like how ratchet my nose looks. It's just blows my mind. So anyways, again with the transfer, now that it's the end of the day, I'm just going to smear my fingers across my face. And definitely doing that, I did get transfer onto my hand, but it doesn't look like there's really any noticeable smear marks on my face. So product did come off, but again, this has been sitting on my face for 12 hours. It's about done. It's definitely goopy. This did not work for my dry skin. It clung to everything. It didn't wear nice on me. I definitely thought it was way too drying. And then also the shade is a little bit weird. I felt like it did get darker throughout the day. So those are all things to keep in mind. Obviously, this foundation has been working out amazingly for a lot of people, and that's awesome. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out for me. So if you guys would like to see more from me, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on the Fenty collection, like all of it, any of it. I would love to hear what you guys think. If you own any of the products yourself, what have you guys been loving from the collection? I would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.